Hi there, welcome to Cosmic Soul Alignment, where we go beyond the surface and dive into the truth of who you really are. Now, my guest this week, Dr. Joan of Angels, brings a powerful blend of healing, multidimensional wisdom, and galactic connection. So if you've ever wondered about your soul's true purpose or felt called to something bigger than this earth life, stay with us because you're about to expand your awareness in ways you didn't expect. So thanks for joining us, Joan.
I am so happy to be here. I'm really honored. And I just loved your trailer, all these mystical, unexplained things. Exactly where I belong.
Love all the mystical and unexplained things. Just love it. And I love that you brought your aura with you today. You look beautiful.
I'm excited to see you, Dawn. Absolutely. Thank you for having me on. It's always an uplifting experience when we start talking, when we follow the threads and uncover another mystical experience.
Yes, exactly. And I know that that's, from talking to you several times, that we're both in alignment with these mystical experiences. We just love them. So we want to explore them further. But first, can you tell us then what first awakened you to the path of ascension and soul remembrance?
Oh, that's such a great question. I'm in the middle of putting together a coaching program, and I'm really looking at who I work with and how people are struggling out there. And I started my soul awakening, my spiritual journey, because I was seeking. I was kind of spiritually hungry. I was lost. I kept going, what's my purpose? What am I going to do with my life? Where am I going? And became like a rhythmic cycle. Oh my God. And then in those days, and that started when I was really in my early 20s, and I ended up moving to California and moving into an ashram with a spiritual teacher and everything, something I never even knew I would ever do. My spiritual journey and starting to understand about meditation and chanting and connecting with these divine beings.
Mm-hmm. So was that when you were a child, a teenager, a young adult, or was it more recent?
No, that was in my early 20s.
Wow. Okay.
I met this woman who started telling me about the spiritual teacher, and I actually met him, and I started having dreams of working with him. And I was getting my master's in counseling then. So the day I got my master's, I packed and I just drove to California
Mm-hmm.
to go into the ashram there, which was very, very exciting for me. I had
Okay.
no idea that, I had never studied spiritual teachings in that sense.
Right.
And understand that we're more than just our body. And that was the first thing I learned. We're more than just our body. We
Mm-hmm.
have a soul, and the soul continues on when we pass, and it's part of our soul family and our soul connection. So it was quite an awakening for me to start to experience it. And then very fortunately for me, that's where I started working part-time for a chiropractor, and I ended up becoming a chiropractor. I heard this voice one night. I went to one of these ceremonies, and I
Mm-hmm.
said, what should I do with my life? And I heard my guide say, go to chiropractic school. And I enrolled the next day. And when I think of that, and that was my sole purpose, I never searched for a sole purpose after that, Dawn. I knew I was here to uplift and heal people.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, ever since that day, that was life changing. And I associate my chiropractic work also with my spiritual journey, my
Okay.
journey as a healer.
Yes, I know you've been busy doing lots and lots of different things and spreading out into different realms, and it's really exciting. So, how long then did it take you to do your course at chiropractic school, and then how did things pan out for you then spiritually?
Well, that's so interesting. Chiropractic, I was still involved in the movement at the time, so that supported me energetically. But when I got my degree, I moved up to San Francisco and decided to start my life up here in San Francisco, and that's what I did. And I built I learned about setting my goals and visions right away. I started working with another spiritual teacher, and we had to really look at, I'm using the word all is unfolding for the highest good of all concerned, because we started using kind of mastermind principles of all is unfolding for the highest good. Every day I'm getting better and better. And I started using all of these affirmations and visualizing where I wanted to be, the art of manifestation, the art of the law of attraction. So I think I started using it, everything right away, and dived in.
So everything all at once and not in little dribs and drabs.
Well, there were little drips and drabs on a daily basis, yes. But, I had some really amazing experiences with my patient. Like one day when a patient came in, he was like about 85, and he was struggling. He had Parkinson's. He could barely walk and talk, and he was going downhill. And he had been a patient of mine for a long time. And he comes in the office. I put him on the table, and suddenly I have all this fluttering around my ears. And it was like 1,000 wings were in the room. And that was the angels. And they came to tell me to tell his wife that it was his time and she had to let him go. She had to stop dragging him around from practitioner to practitioner because it was time for him to go home. His soul contract was up. So through my chiropractic, I had some very amazing, and uplifting experiences. That brought me to tears, but I had to tell her that. And he passed shortly after that.
Okay. Oh, wow. That touched my heart. Bless.
Right? Yeah, it was really moving.
Yeah. So have you got any more incidences like that, through your chiropractic work, you've had some intuitive information come through?
I've had a lot of intuitive information. So I used to tell my patients would come in and I'd sort of chit chat with them while my hands would. I said, I'm like the yellow pages, I would tell them. My hands do the walking. Yes. And they knew where to go. And so I'd find myself, fixing someone's stomach or adjusting something. And they'd go, how did you know that I hurt like that? And I'd go, well, I didn't. My hands knew. My hands had their own experience of what was going on. So my hands always knew. But I think, and my intuition developed pretty rapidly. And a good example of that was one day, this husband and wife come in, and they're Iranian, and they had a car accident, and they came to my office. And so I guess I did a consult, and I put him on the table, and I was about to adjust him when I heard this voice that said, don't adjust him. He'll sue you.
Oh.
Okay. Now, these are the days where I didn't know that my intuition was so accurate. So I just sort of ignored it.
Okay.
I just going to do a little something. And I swear to God, Dawn, it was a tap, because now I'm a little nervous. My guides are saying, if you're going to see you. So just a tap. And he leaps up off the table. I'm sure it was faked. He leaped up off the table, screaming and yelling. And his wife comes running down the stairs. She was in the upstairs part of the office. And I have to call 911. And he sued me. He took me to small claims court, which is pretty funny because we walk into the small claims court and I'm about 7 months pregnant. And the judge was the husband of one of my favoriteest patients, of which I didn't even know. But he said, he announced that. He said, well, I have to tell you, I actually know of Dr. Hangarter. That was my name at the time. My wife goes to her. But they were kind of naive, and they didn't make him recluse himself. And I did win the case.
Good. Yeah, I bet that was a lesson learned, was it? Not to ignore what comes through.
And that's so important, Dawn, this thing of ignoring the voice within, and then the consequences that happen.
I think we all do it, though, don't we, at some point in time, until you actually understand your intuition and that little voice inside you, until you realize that that's your North Star, it's your compass to keep you on the right path. Yeah, it can be a little bit of time to actually get used to that. I know it took me a little bit of time, because what you used to think was, feel your gut. I used to feel it in my gut, but didn't think, I had no idea what it was. It took quite some time for me to understand that was what was telling me, it's the right way to go. It's either a good feeling or a bad feeling, and to trust that more than any kind of logic?
You know, I teach a class called How to Trust Your Gut Every Time. You know, how to listen to that voice and trust your gut every time, because this is the hardest thing to get a prompting. Like, don't adjust him. I think it came out as, if anyone's going to sue you, it's him. And I ignored that message. Okay. Because what are the odds? Now, I've ignored that message other times. I was telling a friend in 2013, I leave the accountant's office with the tax returns for myself and my 2 kids. And I'm going to the rental car that I'd rented, and I open the trunk and I hear a voice that says, don't put your returns in the trunk. And I go, why? And I hear the voice says, it's going to blow open and everything's going to fly out. And I said, I'll take that. Ridiculous. I'll take that chance. I must be making things up. Now, so lo and behold, of course, you understand that I lost all the tax returns. The exact thing, something that would never happen in a lifetime, happened. And I had been forewarned. So I started teaching about how to listen to the voice within. And for your listeners, there's a real easy way. You start a journal of all the times you've listened and the outcome, and all the times you didn't and the outcome. Now, that was a serious outcome, losing 3 tax returns exposed on the streets of LA. And people could find them.
Yeah.
I heard from them. So that's a good way to train yourself, by knowing the results of what results you've had up to now.
Yeah. And I'm assuming that you teach them how to feel. I had to ask to feel certain things in my body in a certain way. So I had to, I suppose, almost attune my guides or whoever to say, right, if it's a good thing, if I'm on the right track, I want to feel, you know, like the wings in my ears, or I want to feel goosebumps. I want to feel something really good. But if it's not a good thing, I want to feel like a heavy weight in my stomach. You know, that is what I want to feel if it's a no. And that is what I get. It took a little bit of time, but that is now what I get. So programming your guides or anyone that's any being that's helping you, I found was a really good way of getting what you want.
Very fascinating. Yes. So you're actually telling them how you want them to give you messages. And we do have that ability to let them know how to communicate with us. Now, when I'm on the right track, I feel like my heart is singing. It's like, I get this feeling of such happiness that I swear I can hear my heart sing. Mm-hmm. And so that's my happy spot.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely.
But I like your way, the heaviness or the lightness. The other thing I do a lot now is I call this the discernment scale. I teach all my clients the discernment scale. It's very simple. You imagine a horizontal line, and on the left is 0, and on the right is 10. You have a clock hand. This is like you're not dead, you're neutral right here. Things go up from there. But on a scale of 1 to 10, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is it for me to listen to this message? And if you get, it's like a 10, which you will get if it's that important, you will be told to listen to it.
Yeah. Yeah, they know what's best for you, even though you might not think that, but they do.
I was taking my kids to Disneyland. They were in middle school. Okay. I had a house full of kids who were going with us, and the alarm was set for 4:00 in the morning. But I had made an affirmation the night before or the week before actually, that I was going to actually trust my gut, listen to my pendulum, and trust what I receive. So it's 4:00 in the morning. I get up. It's raining cats and dogs outside. I pull out my pendulum. Is it safe for us to go? And I get a big no. No. Now, if it had been a week or 2 before, I would have gone anyway. But because I had made that decision, I stopped. And so I kind of did it again at 4:30, did it again at 5. And I couldn't figure out why they didn't want me to go. But I honored that, which I felt stupid because now my kids are awake. They're screaming at me like, Mom, why aren't we in Disneyland? And, you know, what happened to you? And how do you explain to your kids? Well, the pendulum said we shouldn't go. Anyway, we didn't go. And at 2:00 that afternoon, I go outside and I lived on a hillside. I had a big retaining wall. There was a house right up above my house, kind of facing my pool. And I go outside, and the retaining walls are at a 45-degree angle.
Ooh.
They were collapsing.
Mm.
The hill was starting to slide, as was the house of my neighbor that was up the hill, ready to go in my pool.
Wow.
Fortunately, I was home. I mean, unbelievably enough, I had listened to my intuition. This is why I'm so passionate about it.
Yeah.
Had we left, the whole retaining wall would have collapsed. I would have come back. The neighbor's house would have been, if not in the pool, close to it.
Mm-hmm.
The whole hillside would have been collapsed. And yeah, so I consider that a huge miracle. It took them 48 hours to keep it, to push it so it wouldn't collapse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, well, there you go. Listen to your intuition. Absolutely. So I'm just interested that, from your chiropractic business and your hands they would find their way to the spot that needed some healing. What were some of the most common blocks that you were finding, some of the most common ailments?
What a great question. Well, one of the most common blocks is right up here behind your head. It's the connection between your first and second cervical, and your brainstem. And if that's not aligned properly, so think of it this way. In chiropractic, we work with innate intelligence. It could be even your antenna, your light body coming through. And if it gets blocked over here, then all the energy from your brainstem, from your higher consciousness, gets stopped right here. What could it do? It causes neck pain, cause upper back pain, shoulder pain, numbness and tingling in your hands. But also, if this is out of alignment, it destroys that. I call it an angel connector. If you want to connect to your guides, if you want to connect with the other side and hear properly, having this fixed is a really good idea. I learned to do that online during the pandemic, by the way, but that's so important for the alignment. And so patients would come in the office and tell me that, oh my God, Joan, I'm meditating so much better since you did that move. Mm-hmm. And so that's one place where it's really, really important. And then all those nerves in your spine go to different organs. They go to your heart, your lungs, your liver. So one year I went to this chiropractic seminar, and there was a room where chiropractors adjusted other chiropractors. And no one had ever asked me before. This woman comes up, and because these guys are all big, but this woman comes to me and asked me if I could take care of her. She didn't tell me what was wrong with her, nothing. And I adjust her, and I adjust her low back, her L3, her L4. I put it back in place. Monday morning, I get a phone call. I'm back in my office. I get a phone call. She said, Joan, you have no idea what you did to me. I had been constipated for a month. She said, you adjusted me, and I went up to my room, and I've been normal ever since.
Isn't that funny?
I didn't know what
amazing.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
It's not so amazing because every spine, every nerve goes to a different organ. It innervates our body. Mm-hmm. So if you have a pinched nerve anywhere, you won't get nerve flow to that area. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so yes, I can heal constipation. I suppose I could make that my claim to fame.
Cool. So it's not just a spiritual alignment then, it can be a physical alignment too. And the two of them just make big changes, yeah.
But actually, even a physical alignment is a spiritual alignment, because what it does is it opens this flow of consciousness. Yeah. Of innate intelligence flooding through your body, commanding and directing what your body is going to do. And that is how healing comes from the inside out.
Yeah. It allows the energy to flow.
Right. It's all about, vibration, resonance, and energy flow. So it's not just, it may look like a simple adjustment, but it's actually releasing innate intelligence to flow through you. And as humans, most of us don't even think about our body in these ways. Like, I like to remind people to wiggle your fingers, wake them up, let them know how much you appreciate them holding things for you, right? Do the same thing with your toes, wiggle your toes, because they're carrying you every day. Mm-hmm. And their nerves are getting compressed. And so wiggling your parts of your body and saying, you know what, I love you. I just want you to know, hands, I appreciate the way you used to adjust our patients. I appreciate how you help me on the computer, or, you really appreciate our bodies and our heart and our eyes and how it's functioning. So that is my takeaway from my chiropractic years, which was that I was there to help teach people how they can learn to heal from the inside out.
So yeah, showing your body some love, showing yourself some love, because we don't give ourselves enough love, do we? We really, really don't. And that can be, the cause of a lot of problems down the line. If you're thinking about yourself in a negative way, or you're saying detrimental things about yourself, or, not looking after your body physically, it can cause some issues, right?
It can. Absolutely.
I would like to ask you about how you help people shift from fear and survival into this life of creation and miracles.
Well, that's a great question. It's not done overnight, but it can be, by releasing what is holding you back, releasing your fears, releasing the stuck places. And so we can do a body scan. So actually, when I work with people chiropractically, my hands can feel where those things are. But we release the blockages that you are carrying in your body so that you can have more energy available to you. Once you have more energy available to you so that you can heal, then you can start to step out of fear. Because fear is an illusion. Fear is an illusion that somehow your body and this life you're living is more real than spirit. And it's a made up thing. It's like we get a download that says, go to chiropractic school. Like I told you, go to chiropractic school. So I got so excited, and then the next day the fear hit me. How am I going to afford this? How am I going to do this? So it's the doubt and fear that gets in the way of us making progress. So one of the first things we do is we look at that. And then we look at what your goals and visions are, and we frame them in the way that stepping into them is more exciting than staying stuck. And that's a big step, to understand that if you stay where you are, you've identified a lower vibrational spot for yourself. And if you want to raise your vibration, if you want to actually change your life, you have to change who you are. You have to change things about you. And that's what I've been really learning recently. I think I was listening to Joe Dispenza. I'm thinking that's where I got that, where he actually says you cannot do things the same way you've always done them. You have to find new ways of dressing, new ways of speaking, new way, like things, so that you're not stuck in that routine.
Yeah, on your habits.
And so that's another key so I'll change my appearance. I'll put on dressy clothes or fun clothes or dancing clothes or whatever I need to do to shift my energy in the
Or
now.
your crown. Got to put your crown on sometimes.
Or my crown. Now, the crown is a different kind of thing, though, Dawn, because what I've discovered, I feel like an ascended master in this crown. Just, the way it's set up. But it's a container here, and it's actually focusing the energy that's coming through. So, if we wanted to discuss connecting to extraterrestrials or connecting to our angels, having a headpiece that kind of embodies your head and holds that energy in like a container really makes it sharper, easier to connect, easier to feel that light coming through you.
Yeah, I wanted just to go back a little bit to what you said about fear. I tell my clients there is no such thing as fear other than that we're creating, because it's not something that we're born with, it's something we learn. And if it's something that we learn, we can unlearn it by, like you were saying about Joe Dispenza, and know he likes to move you from the familiar, out of the familiar and into the unfamiliar, and change these habits and change these things that you do to keep you moving and stop you from being stuck in your past.
Because your old habits are not going to get you into your new life.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, they were keeping you stuck, so there's no point in keeping them.
And that is very sad, but true.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Okay. one more question, then we'll go to a quick break. So from your perspective, do you believe that there is a universal ascension timeline, or is awakening unique to each soul's contract?
Well, that is quite a question, because I'm going to give you two answers to that.
Okay.
Each of us has our own soul contract. So we have our own blueprint of what we're here to do, what we're here to accomplish, the skills we have, the tools we've been given, and the mission. So we have our mission statement, which is great. But it's easy to forget. It's quite easy to not even remember who you are and why you're here. So I forget the rest of that question, though. I know I have an answer in my head.
No, that's okay. Or is awakening unique to each soul's contract?
Okay, so the second part of that, thank you for reminding me of that,
No
is that we're also waking up collectively, and the earth itself is going through an ascension process.
Yeah.
Every 26,000 years, our earth kind of comes back to the same place. And apparently this time we're all going to collectively, those of us who are awake are going to collectively experience the solar flash. We don't know when the solar flash is coming, and it will come before 2030. But the solar flash will put those of us who are ready onto an ascension pathway. And you'll know it. Your skills will come back. You'll be able to maybe see or talk to or feel angels and extraterrestrials. You'll have greater intuitive gifts, telepathic gifts, that all will come through at that time.
So is that like are you describing a dimensional shift?
Yes. It's
Okay.
supposed to be a dimensional shift where those who are more awake will be moved into another dimensional frequency and literally leave our 3D world behind.
Okay, so is it moving from 3D to 4D, or moving from 3/4 up into 5?
It's going to be 3 to 5.
3 to 5, wow, that's a big leap.
Because we're all going to be collectively moved to an earth that's on that fifth dimension.
Okay. It's interesting. I'm looking forward to that, let me tell you.
Other people are going to be left behind, though. Not your family. Most of the time, our family will be able to come with us. But those people who've been living a more of a negative path,
Yeah,
a lower frequency path, will be remaining behind.
they'll stay where they are. Yeah, they're not ready to go. They're not at a vibrational frequency to be able to go. Yeah.
You know, and it's so funny because I think movies always tell us that. I remember years ago a movie, or maybe it was a series, like people kept disappearing. Like you'd wake up and your wife was gone, or your kids were gone, and you didn't know where they went. And I don't know if this is like that, but it reminds me of that.
That's interesting. We'll just have to wait and let it play out itself, won't we?
But you know, we're in a war between dark and light, and the light is going to win.
Yeah.
So this 2030 timeline where we're in a race with the dark, in a sense, because they can see what we're doing, we see what they're doing, we keep changing, but we are going to have this ascension.
Yeah.
They can't stop that. And the reason is that it's time for humanity to deepen their connection to source.
Yes. The awakening, the great awakening. All right. Good point. Let's just take a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Cosmic Soul Alignment, and I'm here with Joan of Angels, and we're talking mystical encounters and soul awakening. Thank you for staying with us. So, Joan, let's get a bit more mystical now. And you mention and you talk about calling in UFOs and galactic beings. So, can you tell us about how you found you could do that and then share some of your, contact experiences?
I first started having contact, I guess, I moved to Mexico. Well, I had contact before, but I moved to Mexico around 2010. I moved to Baja. And the first thing I noticed, and it's kind of crazy because I was telling someone the story. I'm writing this book and I was telling the story. So I moved down to Mexico, and above my house, you could see 6 saucer clouds. They would be there all day long. They did not move. And they just stood up there. And every night or every morning, I'd wake up with dreams of climbing the stairs or the ladders or flying. So I moved down there and I started this group called Baja Paranormal. My guides told me to start this group, Baja Paranormal. I was like all over this UFO story. So I would invite guests to come to Baja. And I think one time we had up to 95 people in our group.
Wow.
Because there were a tremendous amount of ETs down there. Now, when I left Baja, I had a regression with a woman by the name of Yvonne Smith, who's known for her ET regressions. And I went to her, I think we were doing a trade, and she said, well, where do you want to start? And I said, well, tell me why I was called to Baja. And it was really interesting. I saw a scene where I'm on a spaceship, and I realized that it's one of these 6 spaceships, and above is the mothership. So you couldn't see the mothership with your naked eye, but in this vision, I knew the mothership was up there. And in front of me on this ship was all 95 people in Baja Paranormal. They were sitting on the ship in a chair with their head like this, and they were just out cold. I am on a podium in front of them. And there's a chair in front of me. It was just like a chiropractic adjustment. I used to do that. They're in a chair. And what am I doing? I'm tuning up their antenna. So it's resonating with the heaven, the celestial realms, and the earth. And that was what they told me was my mission. They went on to say, and you made this commitment, Joan, that you were not going to leave the planet till every soul had their antenna tuned up to be aligned with the heavens and the earth. And I go, oh my God, that's you're talking about billions of people. And the next day,
quite some time.
There were 2 people on the ship with me. One was a very dear friend of mine, Shima Moore. Some of you might know her from Conscious Life Expo. And another guy, Thunder, who created sort of the scalar light around the world. And I was told that I'd have help, but that was really my mission. So that was like that was so profound, Dawn. It really changed things for me, that these dreams of going up on the ship and then that past life regression for the ship really changed things for me. And I came back to the States after Baja, and I have this encounter one night. And the encounter was really interesting. It was like there were no walls. And I think I went outside and saw a ship, but I don't know if that was my imagination. But suddenly I'm awoken by these beings that are circling around me. And they're wearing this kind of gown, like a white gown, a shimmering gown, and a head thing. And they're just circling round and round and round. I'd fall asleep, open my eyes, they're still circling. So the next day, I was going to a UFO conference. And I'm at the conference, and I walk in, and on the table there, on one of the vendors, her name was Cynthia Crawford. She was known as the ET sculptor, but I didn't know any of that at the time. I walk in, and there are the very beings on the table as a statue that had been circling me round and round all night. So I was really blown away, and she had us do a meditation. Anyway, I took this statue home. It was a statue of a tall white, about this big. And the moment I got the statue home, Oh, and I was going to take a female, but someone comes up to me and says, Joan, you need the male. So I just did, okay, what do I know? I took the male. He starts acting very bossy. I get home to where I'm staying, and we go into my friend Suzanne's room, and he starts directing on how it should be the command center of the ship, and it needed this and this. And the Avon was what I called him. He told me he was an ambassador, and I took him everywhere with me. He went everywhere with me. Any meeting I went to, I would take Avon with me. Kind of blew away, but he wanted to go. He was this ambassador, and he woke people up to what he did. So he was my intuitive guide for many, many years.
Okay.
And a lot.
I would also like to know how you prepare yourself energetically, or spiritually, before calling in these ETs or any galactic contact. Is there like a ritual that you do to call them in?
I do a little ritual, a prayer, asking for the highest good for all concerned, asking to be connected. I like to run a beam of light through my antenna from the heavens through me to the center of the earth, and then running it back up. And that's kind of what I did when I called in the extraterrestrials in Joshua Tree. So I taught my tribe at that time to raise up their energy or their antenna, so it reaches all the way up to the heavens, and ground send your roots down to the center of the earth so you can really feel connected, and keep raising that light, And I had everyone have their eyes shut. I had my eyes shut, and I hear this voice that says, open your eyes. And there was that ship right above. It came out of the mountain here, stopped above so everyone could look up. And then it sort of spread twinkle dust all over us. And then it went off to the river.
Twinkle dust.
Well, yeah, twinkle dust.
I love twinkle dust. Twinkle dust is wonderful.
Starseed energy, stardust, whatever their thing is. I felt that they were really blessing us by their presence. And it was just such a delight because the ship was, the lights were beaming. And I had 12 people in a circle around me. Everyone was like really blown away and flabbergasted. And so was I. I mean, my guides told me I could do it, but I hadn't done it to this point. And it was quite rewarding. Mm-hmm. And so I've had other encounters too. But those were really powerful ones.
Okay. When you were talking about, everybody, around in a circle, that reminds me of a program I watched by Stephen Greer about him, attempting to contact the ETs, and the things that he does to try and ask them to come forward, that, everything is safe, etc. Do you follow his work at all, or is this just completely independent?
In the beginning, I did try some of his techniques. Mm-hmm. I had an app, and I did try it. Yeah. And I've gone to a couple of CE5 events, but they weren't held by Stephen. We did not call in ETs. And in the end, this is a technique that worked for me. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like chiropractic. I was trained in a certain system, but tossed the system. In the end, it's whatever system came through me that really took all these systems to make one that worked for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that, being trained in certain things is a good thing, but then allow yourself to develop it in a way that's right for you. I think that's right. The way we need to go. Yeah, perfectly. What role do you believe that extraterrestrials and, I suppose, star families play in the ascension of humanity and our awakening?
Well, they play a huge role in the awakening. The people who've been contacted by the extraterrestrials are really our starseed ambassadors. They are our galactic ambassadors because they are getting the downloads, the contact, and the connection with these star beings. These star beings have come here to help hold humanity steady in these times, but also to awaken humanity, uplift humanity, to give them new knowledge, new tools. So many people that I know are receiving downloads about, the different dimensional frequencies and the different ascension codes and the different DNA activations. And so they're giving us a lot of information right now so that we can take our place in the galactic realms as more awakened
downloads, informational downloads about, to give them, I suppose, the knowledge and the understanding of how something works, then for them to use that and give that information out to others. Yeah.
Sometimes that's what it's for. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it can be to help them physically ascend,
Many
I suppose,
people
or raise their vibrations. Mm-hmm.
raise their vibration, heal. Many
Mm-hmm.
people have had radical healings. The Arcturians do a lot of healing. The Andromedans do healing.
Mm-hmm.
So people have had ET healings, and some of the new technology that's coming out, the red light therapy, the EE systems. Honestly, I think that those are from the secret space program. I think those are actually ET based, and that we've been given access to these advanced healing technologies now.
Big possibility, I believe, very much so. Mm-hmm. How do you differentiate then between, I suppose, your imagination and real galactic or mystical contact?
You mean, how do you know if it's real or not?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because most of us don't see them physically with our eyes open. And so we see them with our eyes closed. Some people, though, do see them with their eyes open, but most of us see them with our eyes closed. You have a vision and you see them. And it's based on the information you're getting and the energy that you're experiencing of this being and this contact. Some of the information you may get would be for your healing or for healing of others, or information that you would not have known about your history or the history of the planet. So people are receiving or information about consciousness and ascension, and I definitely think they're here to help us do that. Now, there are other extraterrestrials, Dawn, that are not aligned for the highest good of humanity also. So they're not all here for our highest good, but I think the ones that come into our field are.
Yeah. So you're talking about a knowing, an internal knowing. It's not something that anybody else can experience but yourself. So then that would create the wisdom then for you to understand that this is real. If it's real or not. Mm-hmm.
We experience the whole universe actually inside here. You close your eyes and you're in a different realm. Mm-hmm. And many encounters occur when you're in meditation or when you're in that other realm where it's with your third eye.
Right? Mm-hmm. Because everything's inside anyway. It's all inside you. It's not out there. It's in here.
Right.
Everything.
Well, that makes me wonder, is there space out there, or is it really all in here? Because it seems to be. And the more you develop your ability to meditate, your ability to connect, your ability to really work with some of these tools of your light, your energy, your frequency, and raise your vibe. Now, I always tell my clients too, angels want us to connect with them, but it's easier if we learn how to raise our frequency to go up to them, as opposed to them having to
come down. Easier for us to, well, it could be, I was going to say it could be easier for us to move to. It's not easy to raise your vibration, really quickly, but you can get used to it. But trying to kind of meet them halfway, I think that's usually what happens. I think they come down a little bit to our vibration and we can move ours up to them. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Isn't that exciting? That's so exciting. It's mind-boggling that we can have those experiences. And we can call them in and ask for that wisdom and ask for that healing.
Yeah. Agreed. Can you tell us then about some of your initiations, in Sedona and Mount Shasta and Egypt, I think was one of them too. What was going on there and what unique energies did each place open up for you then?
I should be upfront with this. Okay. So a few years ago, I was talking to, I don't know if you know Sheila Seppi, but if you don't, you should. And I said, she's a walk-in, and she's a very straight walk-in. She walked in, I guess she was in her 30s, very sick. She was dying basically. And an ET walked in and changed her whole life. Okay. And I said to her, well, I'm different. I'm not the same woman or person that I was all those years ago. And I'm definitely a walk-in, but I can't think of it one time where that happened. And she said to me, she said, Joan, you're like what's called a 33-degree walk-in. What's a 33-degree
That's
walk-in?
interesting. Yes, do tell.
Well, what she said is you were fractured so much growing up, and your life has been so difficult in so many ways that your awakening would come in pieces, little ones. You had 33 distinct awakenings to get you to this level that I'm at now. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And so, yes, Egypt was one of them. And in Egypt, I had a past life reading actually with a friend of mine, and we had found my Hathor lifetime. Now, I don't believe I was the only Hathor. There's many people who have the Hathor energy, but as I dived into Hathor and what she did, and my mother came to me in a vision and explained to me I was the daughter of Cleopatra and Hathor, and I needed to work on my beauty. And that was a huge upgrade for me to not be afraid to be attractive. That because Hathor, her role was to be beautiful. And she was like the goddess of beauty. And so when I went to Egypt, I was really aware of all of this. And I was aware of the energy of Hathor. I had some meditations where I felt her in my body. And I feel like when I got to Egypt, there was, I guess what I'm going to say, because I hadn't thought about it, there was a wake up. Almost as if someone had turned my antenna slightly so that it was sharper or that it connected better.
Closer to the frequency.
My frequency was just shifted slightly, but here I am walking among these huge statues. Like at the Temple of Luxor, you have these 30 feet high or 50 feet high statues of beings that I'm actually convinced were alive and then flash cementified. I don't know the right words. They became solid, and they were real. They were beings that high, and you can feel their energy. You could feel our mortality, because I did a meditation where I was up there and I looked down at humanity, and humanity was like a grasshopper. So in perspective of the extraterrestrials and ourselves, that was just a huge awakening. But what happened for me was even a more awareness of my own energetic field. If that makes sense.
It does.
That was a powerful one.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I love all this stuff. Love my job.
I didn't tell you about the meditation because I started getting all these books about Egyptian magic before I left. I wanted to know more, and I'm reading about how the Egyptians would call the god or goddess, call their name, and they had other names like a bird or this or that, and they would actually embody the energy. And I don't know what happened, but I found myself in this vision. I'm in Redondo Beach, and I'm like here. And the next thing I know is I'm in the body of Ra. And I didn't want to be in the body of Ra, but I'm in the body of Ra. He's like 30 or 40 or 50 feet tall. And that's where I saw the grasshopper humans. But I'm in there. And what I found was that, so the energy went through his crown to my crown, through me, and then through my feet to his feet, and then into the earth. So I'm doing this kind of meditation. And the next thing I know is I awakened him. The way I knew I awakened him is that I started to hear a hum, and it was like there was a gate in front of me suddenly that was closing around me. At which point I panicked, and I actually said no and got up and terminated that experience because I had this horrific fear that I could get trapped in his body or in that energy. And, it was kind of intimidating to have this like gate coming out around me. So I stopped that meditation, but I did continue further down to keep doing these meditations. So by the time I got to Egypt, I really could feel that I was a god walking around the gods.
Right. That's very interesting. We're getting towards the end, and I've only got a couple of minutes left. So this quick question for people who feel drawn to their galactic origins, but I suppose they're a bit afraid or unsure where to start, what guidance would you offer them?
Well, it's very, if you're drawn to your galactic origin, one of the things I do with my clients is I help you remember who you are and why you're here and what your mission is. And if you are a starseed, if you are connected to the galactics or the celestials, that will come through to give you that understanding of who you are and why you're here. Because I think the most important thing, it's not just about connecting to the galactics, it's about understanding why. And why you, and what your connection is, and what planet you might be coming from, and what energies you carry that are beyond being human. And many of us have our intuitive gifts, for sure, as a clairsentient or an empath. But I've been developing since that last initiation more telepathy. Mm-hmm. And I have more instances of where I say something at the same time as someone else, or I have this thought and I tell it to them and they go, well, how did you know I was thinking of that at the same time? And so your skills, if you start connecting in those ways, your intuitive gifts will grow.
Mm-hmm. They'll start to develop, yeah.
Yes, they'll start to develop.
Fascinating conversation. I always love chatting with you. Come up with some great information. So I want to say thank you, Joan. It was wonderful having you again. Let's do this again next season. Come back and we'll talk about some other things. That would be great. And for the viewers, thank you for joining us on this journey of soul remembrance and galactic expansion. And if this conversation sparked something within you, keep tuning in for more insights. So until next time, keep aligning with your truth and walking the path of cosmic soul alignment. Take care. Thank you, Joan. Take care.
Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome, darling.